Hello, and welcome back to the Salty Vaper. I am Chris Jordan, broadcasting to you from Richmond, Indiana, in the heart of these United States of America. Happy opening day to all you baseball fans out there. My Cincinnati Reds are on a rain delay, so I thought this would be a good time to put up a video I've been thinking about doing. This video is going to be short, I assure you. I know I always say that, and then they end up being an hour and a half long. I do apologize. There's lots of information to get through, but on this one, I feel like it's going to be relatively short. So, with that said, this video is sort of geared toward the beginning rebuilder. If you're, just getting into dripping, thinking about getting into dripping, thinking about getting into rebuilding, something like a K-Fun or another rebuildable, a Russian, what have you. Even the, sub-tanks these days have rebuildable sections. So rebuilding is something that's become quite popular, and saves you some money on coils. It's kind of a nice little hobby as well. But what I found was when I got started that I spent a lot of money on tools that I didn't need, didn't work very well, etc. Ended up having to buy other tools, other things. And so what I'm here to do is kind of show you my setup, which I found to be tried and true. And so, you can kind of do it the right way first and avoid wasting money. And we'll begin with the box itself. It is by the company that makes it is a Tool Shop, and it's just called a Tool Shop Storage Organizer. I picked mine up at a local Menards store here in Richmond. The only drawback to the box is it's a bit long, but the compensating virtue is that it is organized with these compartments for all your different items, which is great. The toolbox I had prior to this, it was one of the kind that just has a large open area with a lift-out tray. I didn't find the tray very useful at all for this purpose, and so I just took that out. And then all my stuff ended up being in just a giant chaotic mess inside. I'm not super OCD, but it's a hassle when you're trying to build, and you're trying to find something small, and you gotta sift through everything. I always ended up picking up the wrong roll of Kanthal, etc. So it's kind of nice to have things in their own little compartments. So let's take a look then at individual components within my toolkit, and each of these I found to be very useful, and I definitely give a thumbs up to. The first is this the most indispensable piece of equipment you'll have is an ohms reader, and this is very, like I said, if you're going to rebuild and you're going to be safe, you're going to need a good ohms reader. This has both a 510 and an Ego type connection on it, and it's by Smoke, SMOK. I hear some of the British reviewers pronounce it Smock, but I don't think that's the intent. I think it's intended to be Smoke. It is the Omni. I don't necessarily like that name, by the way, but it's the Smoke Omni Tester. It comes with the unit itself and a USB cable for charging. Once you charge it up, it just lasts forever and ever before you have to charge it again, because you're turning it on for such a short amount of time to check your build and go from there. The thing that I have a lot of in this toolbox is, it's taking up 3 full compartments, is cotton. you can never really have too much cotton, but I've got different varieties of, I try different things out. I've got the cotton bacon, and I've got the Kumo Japanese cotton, several other varieties of Japanese cotton. And then, of course, not in my toolbox, I have this baby, the Sell You Cotton Till You Die box. Basically, this I'll have to will to somebody when I pass on, because it's enough to last me for the rest of my life and then some. And I need to, like, I'm kind of a fan of the rayon. I know that just the concern that it's a man-made product and so on. It's sort of somewhere in between a natural and man-made product, though. It's a manipulated product. They've taken the cellulose from natural cotton fibers, basically, and concentrated those into a synthetic product. Rayon doesn't occur growing naturally in the wild, but it's not a polymer or anything like that. At least to my knowledge, I'm not a scientist, not an engineer, but that's my understanding of the matter. And it does produce a nice clean flavor, not much break-in time. I think it stays a little bit cleaner with some of those liquids that tend to gunk up your coils longer than your standard organic cotton or Japanese cotton, and it seems to do a nice job wicking. I don't know that it does any better or worse than the Japanese cotton, but certainly if you watch Phil's video, the Japanese cotton won the wicking contest, and I do enjoy using the Japanese cotton. I think after the break-in period, it gives also a very good flavor, does a very nice job wicking. So I kind of go back and forth using each of those, those kinds of cotton. The cotton bacon also, I think the break-in time is a little bit longer for it, but it's so convenient. It's broken into these strips that are super convenient. This being the strips, it's super convenient to tear off a sliver of cotton for your build. The others take a little more manipulating, but nevertheless, I like all of them. I would be hard pressed to say which one is best, but I enjoy aspects of all the cotton. But having plenty of cotton around, definitely something that you're going to need in your toolkit. Moving on, you want to have a good pair of tweezers, and I found these are actually, I believe, like used for surgeries to clamp off veins, arteries, whatnot. They're like a hema clamp or something like, I forget exactly what they're called, but they have this sort of locking feature here so that you can, when you close it, it stays locked. But if you leave it open, you can still have full range of motion there with the tweezers. I really like these. I picked them up at an auction. I'm not sure you can find anything online, but they're surgical stainless steel, and they're a nice thing to have. They're compared to regular tweezers that you'd find at Walmart or somewhere like that, these are much more useful. You can get that little tip into some really tight spaces in your RDAs, and they just work so much better than a regular flat tip tweezer. And when I saw them, and again I purchased them in an auction, I thought, ooh, that'll be perfect for wicking and things like that, and they are. The next thing you want to have, and this is an area where, again, you don't want to cheap out. You want to have a really good pair of scissors. This is one of the things I think I picked up, like a $3 pair of scissors or something at the local Walmart when I first started, and it didn't cut the cotton. Cotton is surprisingly hard to cut, so you want to get a good pair of scissors. These are, again, surgical grade scissors, and they do a much better job at cutting the cotton. But get yourself a good pair of scissors. Be they Fiskars or something like that. Or even if you can get your hand on some surgical grade are great. Staying on the cutting tools kind of side of things, you want to get yourself a good pair of wire cutters, and these are actually one of the more difficult things to find. They're not readily available at your local stores. Even Lowe's and Sears and places tend not to have these. I got these on Amazon, and they're CHP quality hand tools, and the model number is a CHP 170. I don't know if you can see that in the video there, but they are made in Italy, and they can cut up to 1.3 millimeter wire. So, and they're different. Again, I don't know, like they're very thin. They call them wire shears as opposed to wire cutters, and you can really get into tight spaces on your RDAs and your RBAs to really get in and cut those little short pieces of Canthal next to your build deck. Other wire cutters, even very small ones, the heads of the cutter are too large to get in and really do the job. So I recommend, I think there are some other ones that are like Hakko, Hakko, that also do a nice job, I understand, but I opted for these. They have a spring-loaded handle. They're rated for a little bit thicker wire, I think. So had a great experience with these. You can get right up to the build deck to cut your wire. This is, if you they're now we're kind of getting into your wrapping tools, and one way that you could go would be just a set of drill bits like this, or a set of micro screwdrivers like this. And this is an area where expense isn't super important. I think the dollar store micro screwdrivers may work just as well as these Stanleys. This is all I've been using, but I've never heard any complaints about the other jeweler screwdrivers that you see all the time on reviews. But I've been using these Stanley screwdrivers, for your RDA screws, and also I've used them to wrap on before. But you can use drill bits, you can use micro screwdrivers, or you can get yourself something like this. And this is the Coil Master. Came in this box. I think they're coming in blister packs now, but the Coil Master coiling kit. I think I paid about $20 for it. I think it's way cheaper now. But this has kind of changed the way that I do coils. I just like the neatness of, and this is worthy of its own video. But you can wrap just the most perfect little micro and macro coils with this device. The coiling jig I had before, one of these guys, it was fine, and it was slightly better than a micro screwdriver or drill bit, but kind of fiddly in that it didn't make perfect coils like you would expect a jig to make. So and this is one of these things I found as I go along and buy different RDAs. And I picked this particular screwdriver up at Lowe's, but I got one of these, like a a micro screwdriver, but it has lots and lots of different kinds of torques and hex keys, down to very, very small, like this. And the reason I originally got it was because on my Freak Show RDA, I immediately lost the little Allen key that came with it, and so I got this tiny, I found this was the size I needed, and I picked up this, and it's just kind of, you know, for working on your RDAs, it's kind of a nice thing to have around in case you lose those enclosed Allen keys, which are very tiny and very, very, very cheap sometimes. So that's probably an optional thing. If you keep track of your tiny Allen keys very well, you may not need that. But the other thing, you know, we'll kind of end on this item, but it is, of course, the most indispensable item. You're going to need Camthol, and I keep 2 different gauges. Some people, I'm sure, have, you know, 10 different gauges, but for me, I'm not super into tanks, but I do have a few that I use from time to time, and I find that the 28 gauge works well for my K-Funs, and you know, such, you know, 7-8 wraps with the 28 gauge does quite well. And then for my drippers, I use 24 gauge, and so I keep those 2 gauges around, and I think this one, no, I think that one's also a 24. I get a little small spool of it, but yeah, you're gonna need Camthol or nichrome or whatever your preferred wire would be, especially if you're into DNA 40s. You'll need a nickel build. So, but you know, as far as I'm concerned, the 24 and 26 or 28 gauge are kind of the 2 ends of the spectrum there. But so that wraps it up. Thanks for joining us here on the Salty Vaper. I will see you next time.